Hi, I'm Nia Fisher and welcome to my YouTube channel and to today's instalment of Fishing for the Truth. If this is your first time here, then welcome, thank you for watching. And just to explain that Fishing for the Truth is an ongoing series of video blogs and conversations about a wide variety of subjects, so I hope you'll take a look at some of the other videos in this series as well. Today, I am sitting down with a gorgeous lady who I first met and worked with 17 years ago now, back in 2001. She is an English stage actress, an incredible singer. She is loved by many. And earlier this year, she announced that she was releasing a debut solo album entitled Midnight Mazz. As soon as I heard this, I just knew I had to try, she's a very busy lady, try and find some time with her to sit down and chat about this album. So, this is my conversation with the one and only Mazz Murray. Enjoy.
This is my truth. Tell me the truth. Tell me my truth. Tell me what the truth feels like. This is my truth. Yeah, truth.
So this is what we're here to talk about today. I don't want to assume that the people watching know who you are, because even though you've got many loyal fans from your years in the West End, gosh, how long have you been in the business?
8 months. Long time. But never assume, because it makes an ass out of you and me. See what I did there, folks?
But this is what we're here to talk about, which is your debut album.
Oui.
Which got released on April the 14th.
Yep.
And by April the 18th it was number 30 of the iTunes chart.
Yeah.
And
15.
What?
I was counting.
It was number 15.
Yes.
What did I say?
30.
Oh, went in at number 30. Sorry,
Hey?
it went in at number 30.
She meant number 1. It was just a slip of the tongue.
You poet. And then number 15. That's amazing.
Cute.
But most people, through your time in the West End and the kind of powerhouse roles that you played, such as Killer Queen in We Will Rock You, most people know you for your massive, ballsy, rocky voice. And this, am I safe in assuming, took quite a few people by surprise?
Yeah, it didn't take me by surprise, because that's how I sing.
And
So,
you made
and
it,
that's what I love to listen to, and that's the sort of music that inspired me always.
Right.
And often people, when you're employed to do a job and you're in the job for a long time, people assume that that's what you do.
Yeah.
But they also forget that you're told to sing them and that's what you're paid to do.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not necessarily what you would choose to do. Although rock, I mean, I do love singing rock, and and I did it for many years and I loved it very much. But that sort of music on my album, which is much more easy listening, heartbreak, very stripped back, naked stuff, is what I love too.
And so is that why you chose to...
I'd like to add that I'm totally made up, because I am in between two shows. I'm not
Oh yeah, I didn't mention that.
a Victorian hooker.
Currently performing, well I say currently, but this video will be hopefully on YouTube for a long while to come, but at the moment, as we speak, you're appearing in Chicago at the Phoenix Theatre in London.
Correct.
Playing Mama Morton.
Yeah.
I've just seen it for the first time this afternoon and was blown away by it. But yes, we digress. So is that why you chose to, because predominantly this album, you've got your voice, you've got a guitar, a couple of times there's some sort of beautiful, simple orchestrations and the odd harmonica.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's literally your voice and the guitar.
Yeah, nothing.
Which, for me, what I love, one of the things I love most about it is the space. The space in the music, the space in your phrasing, how you deliver a song. This is for anybody who wants to get back to listening to lyrics and melody and the truth of a song without unnecessary flourishes or riffs, or it's not that you can't do them, but it's truthful. It feels like a very truthful album.
They all really matter to me, those songs. They've all been hand-picked. I think I had a short list of about maybe 20 of songs that I have grown up listening to or have affected me in a massive way, or songs that I found very painful to listen to at times. You know, the songs that you go, turn it off. You know, and some of those were on the list, and then I recorded some of them and it just didn't work. I just couldn't do what I wanted to do with them because I couldn't, I didn't want to touch them. Because when you actually hear it back, you just think, I don't really want to touch it, because what you think is going to be moving to perform is not the same as when you hear it. Yeah, so yeah, these were all really meticulously, they really mattered to me, all of these. Rather than I thought, oh, let's do a song that's really good for my voice. That wasn't actually the... It happened really organically as well, because I really wanted to sing Windmills of My Mind, which is the first song that I recorded on the album. So I literally I was at Julian's one night and I said, oh, I really want to have a go at singing Windmills of My Mind. And he said, oh, I played that for Noel Harrison at Glastonbury. So I said, oh, do you know it? Let's do it. And the recording on there is the recording that we made that night in one go, like that.
Oh, amazing.
And so I was like, well, that was actually quite quick. We could probably do an album in an evening. So we then decided to make the album on the back of that one.
And I'm assuming that You Were Made For Me, which was written by your dad. Mitch Murray. He's on it. He's on that track.
He's on at the end.
That you can hear.
Yeah, at the end he joins in with me, because when he wrote You Were Made For Me, he got his record deal back in the 60s at EMI. It was very different back then. He literally walked in, not that far away from where we are right now, weirdly, in Denmark Street, with a ukulele, and he had taught himself the ukulele because it only has 4 strings and he has 5 fingers, so he thought it must be easy. Easier than a guitar. So he taught himself to basically pull women in the south of France. He taught himself, he learnt songs, and when he'd run out of doing songs, he wrote them. So he walked into EMI, said, I've written this song, and he whistled it and played it on the ukulele, which is why on that there's ukulele and him whistling it off. And he joined me at the end. And I always wanted to put one of my dad's songs on there, and this song, when I got married, I found a beautiful harpist and I sent her the song and I said, can you try and do a classical version of it for when we walk down the aisle, him and I. Not realising that we're getting married outside, so we couldn't hear it. So I thought it was going to be this wonderful moving moment, you know, and it was just absolutely didn't exist. It just didn't exist until we had playback of the video. So I did You Were Made For Me, because it was played with him walking down the aisle.
Gosh. Had you always wanted to do an album? When did you first...
I guess so, but I never had time, because I back to back was in shows from the age of 20, literally back to back. And then I left to have my first son. I was 7.5 months pregnant when I left We Will Rock You. They were like, get off. And I had Zach, and then I spent a year or 2 with him, and then I got pregnant with Charlie, and I spent a year with him, and then I went back into shows and went back into Mamma Mia. And it wasn't until I left Mamma Mia, it was the first time I'd been not in a show as a wife and a mother. I'd always been busy, which is probably why we had a really good marriage. So, you know, suddenly I found myself with the time to do something for myself, and something that I'd always wanted to do. But as I said, it wasn't planned, it happened organically one night. But I was just doing vocals for something else for Julian, and we started to record that song, and then I just thought, well, you know what, let's do it, because I may not have this opportunity again and the time to do it. So I'm really pleased I did it.
And you were saying to me not so long ago, weren't you, that it's opened up a whole new audience to you, or opened you up to more, you were performing at, was it the Isle of Wight Festival that you said? It's exposed you to a different kind of audience, maybe.
Yeah, well, there's different disciplines to singing on stage and singing musical theatre songs, to singing pop songs, which is what these are, you know, they're pop love songs. And there's a different discipline. Your basic training when you're on stage is to be very exaggerated, because it has to travel so far. And as a recording artist, it doesn't need to travel. It's there, you know, you can hear emotion, you can you can hear every breath, you can hear pain. Whereas on stage, you have to be much bigger to do it. Although I'm not a musical theatre singer per se, you know, I can't do what a lot of my contemporaries do so unbelievably well. I don't have that range or that tone. So the shows that I've been in have actually all been jukebox shows or you know, modern pop shows. So yeah, it is quite a different discipline. It's a very different audience, because a lot of musicians love this album, and jazz fans as well.
Yeah, I can see why, because for me, I've always thought your voice was jazz / country. There's a bit of Bonnie Raitt in your voice.
I love country music as well. My first role was playing Patsy Cline, so that was where I love country music. I love the singers are so good. They're so good, the singers. You know, and
great storytellers as well.
You don't know they're so good until you try to sing it.
Right.
And you think, wow, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, most people sound like they really are dying when they do it at karaoke, you know. So for it to be done well is really actually difficult. I'm a big fan of country music.
Have you been influenced by, because music's always been such a massive part of your life, were there any particular influences growing up that you think?
A massive influence for me was Elkie Brooks. I had an album of hers when I was really, really young. One of the first albums I had was an Elvis one. I'm mad about Elvis. And the second album I had was Paul McCartney's Give My Regards to Broad Street, which I knew back to front, inside out.
Right.
And I just thought it was amazing. And very like Queen, his stuff can suddenly just change to being quite theatrical and very, you know. So I loved that. And then I got given an Elkie Brooks album. And that opened a whole genre of, it was Elkie Brooks singing, it was called Screen Gems. I've still got it, it's on cassette. And it's her singing really old songs, old jazz standards.
Right.
Ain't Misbehaving and Me and My Shadow, and absolutely loved her intonation, I loved her tone, I loved how interesting it was. I loved that she didn't over-sing. So I loved her. I love George Michael.
Right.
He just, for me, a good singer has you in 3 notes.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you're just, there's your ticket price.
Absolutely.
I feel, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I love the fact you've got Love Me on here talking of Elvis, because I'm a massive Elvis fan.
Yeah.
And that's, talk about 3 notes, I used to play the first, just that bit over and over again, because it used to make the hairs on my arms kind of stand up.
Yes, I love the Elvis, and I was in Smokey Joe's Cafe, and that's in Smokey Joe's Cafe. And I sang it with 2 really fabulous singers, Anton Stevens and Shauna Scoffrey. It was a terrific recording artist as well. I used to sit and listen to them every night. They've got massive gospel influences, which Elvis did as well. It was just a beautiful, beautiful song. I always wanted to do it. Always wanted to do that one.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. When I first looked at the running list on the back, I thought Never Gonna Give You Up was going to be Rick Astley.
No.
Until I heard it and realised it was the one that I already knew, written by
Frank Stallone. Yeah.
But I love that, because that's not I wouldn't have thought that's an obvious choice.
No, the story behind that one is, I was a big fan of a movie called Stayin Alive.
Yeah.
And Stayin Alive was, you know, that film as a kid that I had on all the time. Cynthia Rhodes starred in that film, and she was also, you'll probably know her better for Dirty Dancing. She was Penny in Dirty Dancing. But in this film, that I was absolutely mad about, when I first went into the show Fame, there was a girl that I was in The View. There was a girl in that called Rebecca Gibbs. And Rebecca Gibbs and I bonded over the fact that we knew every word from Stayin Alive, that starred John Travolta, and every song. And we sadly lost Rebecca about 3 years ago to cancer. And that was a song that was absolutely and totally going to be on there, because that represented our joint love for each other, but our joint love of our careers together, because our paths, we met very, very early and we remained friends throughout. And we literally were united through this film, and this film is about being in a show, basically. So that was a really, really special song. And Frank Stallone, I just love everything he writes.
Right.
I mean, I love him. I'm a bit of a stalker of his on Twitter. He's like, who is this girl? But yeah, mad about him. Mad about him. Yeah.
I thought, because you told me that a while ago about your connection with that song and with Rebecca, and I thought about her this morning because I think I told you she was a year above me in college, and she was someone that I always just used to watch and be in awe of because she was loved by girls and guys.
Yeah.
She was cheeky and sassy and
yeah, just a magnificent soul. Very, very. There's a real art form in being very, very strong and utterly likable.
Yeah.
And she really had that down because it was a non-threatening strength. You know, it was just, she was addictive to be around. She was just fabulous. So it makes me laugh every time I think of her doing that, doing an impression of that movie. I love her. Yeah, I love her. Great girl.
Here's a thought for you. A couple of months ago I was listening to a podcast with the American actor Rainn Wilson, who plays, I don't know whether you've seen the American version of The Office or not, he plays one of the characters in that, and he was saying on this particular podcast that this belief that there's no difference between creating art and prayer. And I know what I think that means, but I was going to put that to you and see if you feel there's an inextricable link between your creativity and, for example, music and song and prayer.
I would have thought that most artists, it is our meditation, and it's our escape, and it's our solace, and it's our, ironically, our safe place. I'm sure I'm sure for most people there is a massive link because it's a very, very private. You have so much solitude, especially when you're recording. I mean, I was alone with myself, with my thoughts, and it's quite exposing. Emotionally, it's quite exposing. Is there a link? Possibly, because I think you get to show emotion that you wouldn't ordinarily show.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you feel like, for example, because I feel that creative place within us, whenever we express that, we're in touch with our authentic self. You know, this album in particular, I feel like when you listen to the everything about it and the nuances, and I feel like you put your soul into this, you know.
Yeah, I think also because some people need to vent. You know, when you're very, very entertainment as a whole, you use it to feel better.
Right.
So whether you use it to block out and pretend it's not happening. So if you've had terrible news and you feel very low and you want to go for escapism to the theatre, to whatever, because that's how you deal with pain, that's one side. But the other side is, as many of us did as young girls, when you get your heart broken, the first thing you want to do is put on Desiree.
Right.
And just absolutely be a mess, because you need to explore it and you need to confront it in order to get over it.
Yeah.
And I know that I used to do that through music, because we spend so much of our life having to get on with it, having to hide it, especially what we do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, any professional, you know, anyone in any walk of life, you know, even people that work the shop floor, they can't go in a wreck if they've had a bad day, if they've had their marriage is breaking down. You've got to put a face on and you've got to get on with it. It's how you do that. Do you then get home and bawl, or do you then get, you know, also when you have a family that you have to be there for, you can't show that you're broken. So you have to draw on these skills. So if you only have 10 minutes to explode and be in pieces, things like that can be really good vessels to do that. I mean, there's a really famous scene in Love Actually, isn't there, when the glorious Emma Thompson
with the
discovers, you know, she goes upstairs and she has 20 seconds to have an unbelievable broken heart, and it's very short, and if you've been there, you know it. It's handled so beautifully using music, you know
Yeah.
that she's gone, released the pain, and moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good example, actually. Really good. Just out of interest, what have been for you? Because I've always considered you to be someone who is so sure of who you are. So I worked with you on Fame back in 2001. So we were both 27, but I thought of you as being a lot older than me because I was new to the West End at that point. That was only my second job. And then years later I discovered we're the same age, and I'm like, oh, she seems to have her stuff together so much more than I do. Oops. But
smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors.
Even back then, to me, you've always seemed to know who you are, and you're uncompromising in that fact. What have been the biggest challenges for you that you've faced, that you've had to get through to carry on with your dream, or with where you've wanted to go, or
I was there's two sides to it, because all my family are in the same industry,
right?
So it goes without saying that I obviously had terrific mentors in them, terrific advice in them. You know, they weren't live the dream because they knew it wasn't a dream as well.
Yeah.
They knew that the reality was very difficult, very broke, you know, a lot of letdown, and unlike most careers, the more you climb, when you stop, doesn't mean to say you're any nearer.
Right.
It doesn't mean to say that, you know, you're as unemployed as someone next to you in those down moments.
Yeah.
Whereas most people, you know, I mean, a little bit with our industry, but unless you're on TV or you have a profile, it's just a different sort of ball game. But because I had them behind me and advising me, and probably not that impressed.
Right.
And I'm saying it with love, you know, they were, but they just recognised it was a job. You know, they weren't sort of like, they were just really realistic.
You don't buy into the hype.
Right, so that's very helpful. And my mum, we're very, very close, all of us, and she was very concerned that my sister and I would definitely make time to fall in love and create a life that is real,
right?
Not just on stage.
Yeah.
Which was the best advice of all, because she basically said, you'll never get back emotionally what you put in from it. So make sure that you have your life. This has still got to be a secondary factor in the big picture.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting and good to know, and terrible pressure hanging over you, you know. But yeah, but so I think all of that sort of helps, and all of that. But I don't know what the biggest problems have been for me, because I think I had a very clear picture of what I wasn't, rather than what I was.
Yeah.
So I had a really clear picture of that, and I think that was because I went to theatre school.
Right.
So you are surrounded permanently, and you are comparing permanently because everybody else is.
Right.
So it's not like when you're at sort of, you know, a normal school, your kids together. So you're actually competing in a different way, because you're a gang.
Right.
When you're at theatre school, you're either you look the same or whatever, but I just didn't look like the other girls at school. They were all very beautiful, the same body and the same hair and the same, you know, it was sort of a fashion as well at the time, you know. And I was nothing like them. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't particularly pretty, I wasn't particularly slim, I wasn't particularly good at singing, but I knew that I could be funny. I knew that I didn't mind playing the bag lady. You know, I wasn't keen on being Alice in Wonderland. You know, I wasn't keen on that. I liked the ones that didn't do an awful lot, but could make an impact and get off. And I really liked that. And that literally was from when I was 9.
Wow.
That started. Because I thought, I can't learn Paddington Bear because it's just too much to learn. But I could be the old lady at the bus stop, for instance. This was Paddington Bear when I was 9. And I was the old lady at the bus stop, and I thought, well, I'll do that because I don't really have to learn an awful lot. I can just sit there with a funny hat on. And that, I've never taken on something that I think, you know, I don't want to take something that I can't do. So yeah, in a way I've cut myself short, but it's been a lot safer. You know, I would never have cast me as Killer Queen.
Really?
No.
And yet you did how many years?
9. But I would never have cast myself as it.
Why?
Because I came into the show really, really late. And Sharon D. Clarke was the current Killer Queen, and I just thought, well, how am I possibly going to be that?
Right.
You know, how am I possibly going to be that? And then when they offered me the takeover, they were, well, you'll just have to do it your way. And I thought, well, actually, yeah, I suppose the Queen of the World doesn't really necessarily have to be larger than life.
Yeah.
You know, you can still, the power comes from within.
Yeah.
So yeah, from a really, really young age, I used to want to really just be cameos.
See, even back then, you knew who you weren't, or you knew.
Well, because it's easier to achieve. That's the only way I thought of it.
Who knows what's easy to achieve when? Who has that insight when they're 9? There must be something inherently in you that kind of.
And perhaps I've always wanted to have a good time. I've never taken myself too seriously.
Right.
I've never massively wanted to do a play.
Okay.
You know, I just needs a song. It's just how, you know, I just think it needs a song. I really admire people that do it, and I love to see them, and I love to watch them. I just don't know, just never wanted to do one.
Right.
Whereas I think most people do, and most people want to be the leader, be the star.
Right.
Because I quite like the idea, you see, being able to have a cup of tea and act 2. Easy life, basically. I think of some laziness.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
although
God.
I wouldn't say that Killer Queen wasn't exhausting.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
Yeah,
a walk in the park.
backfired slightly. But yeah, I'm a blagger, completely a blagger.
Wow.
So, you know, jack of all trades and master of none. Do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, but it's how you do that little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I used to call myself the Joe Pesci of theatre, because in every gangster film, he's the one that sort of comes in when there's been a murder and clears it all up and makes it all okay. And that's what I used to be. I think I've replaced people that have been fired 3 times. Like, I don't normally get the job. Somebody will get fired and they'll go, oh, we'll get Mazz because she'll learn it and it'll just not be a problem.
She'll bury the body.
She won't say anything. Yeah. And so I was like, what's happened? What's happened? What's happened? Don't worry. Yeah, so I'm actually the Joe Pesci of theatre.
Well, he's worked, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, okay, so to wrap this up, because you're on a break and I really appreciate you giving me the time. You've done probably numerous interviews about this album now.
Yeah.
What's the one question that just no one's ever asked you? That have you ever thought, if I was interviewing me, I would ask this?
No, no, I haven't.
Or anything that you've never revealed that...
No, I have to say honestly that when I made this album, what I didn't want to do, I didn't want to do an audition song. I didn't want to do what I call the audition album, when you're actually auditioning. You know, it just sounds like you're auditioning.
Yeah.
Because I think the minute you aren't sincere, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. You know, I love Sting. I love people that they don't show off, they don't they don't go, I can sing this, you know, they literally, it's from there.
Yeah.
That for me is music.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Some of my favourite singers aren't maybe the best singers, but I feel something.
Yeah, I think you need to be brave. I think it takes huge kahunas to do it.
Yeah.
Because we've been forced into this unrealistic, I think, way of applauding a very big note or a very high note, and yeah, they're wonderful, but we've forgotten that to be moved is
absolutely. And that's what I meant when I said that I love the fact that there isn't anything gratuitous in how you sing these songs, and you've given them space to breathe. And
well, because for me the song comes first and the vocal has to be second.
Absolutely.
I feel that, you know, as a songwriter's daughter, every song has a key that it deserves and it belongs to, and a tempo that you need to get it right, whether it's a heartbeat or whatever it is. And every song on there, I just I'm moved by them, and I hope I've done them justice. Because I'm in awe of the people that first ever recorded them. You know, Randy Crawford. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Dinah Krall. Oh, you know, fabulous singers, fabulous musicians. They sound like instruments.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
It's funny though, because some of these tracks I already knew them, but listening to your interpretation of them, lyrics will pop out at me that maybe I hadn't really listened to the lyric that closely before, or so it puts the song right at the forefront. I remember, okay, I'm so not comparing myself to you, but a few years back I experimented and did like a ballad arrangement of oh gosh, Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Oh nice.
On the piano. I think somebody on YouTube said it sounded like funeral music, but that's besides the point. But my friend Susie said to me I'd never listened to the lyrics of that song before until I listened to your version of it.
Yeah.
And I know for anybody who already was expecting a big, larger than life album, I said to you, didn't I, about the comparison I made to when I was talking to my brother about owning a Porsche. I got in a Porsche one day and I said to my brother, what's the point in having this car if you can't drive it at 100 miles an hour and just put your foot flat down? And he said, because even when it's going at 20 or 30, the quality of the drive is superior to anything else. And your voice can do big and it can do rock, but the quality of it when it is stripped back, it's like a Porsche to me. It's you know, it's incredible. So I would highly recommend this to anybody who loves music, loves lyrics, wants to be moved, and just wants to listen to just a...
My dad didn't even realise that was his song.
What?
Well, because I don't think...
Oh, because of how...
Freddie and the Dreamers, who recorded it first, I don't think they ever did verse 2.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't realise it was his song. But I mean, he's really impressed with himself. He said, I wrote an extremely good song.
That's so funny. Yeah, he did. Mind you, he must have written quite a few in his time, so
yeah,
maybe you just lose
quite
track
a few.
after
He was really worried that I was just going to put one in just for the sake of it.
Right.
I said, want to put one in for the sake of it. But to be able to have written the music and the lyrics to something, you know, which, good on him.
He must be so proud of you. It's beautiful. And thank you.
Thank you, you're beautiful. And thank you, you're all beautiful too.
Some people never know the true magic of the moonlight. You give me everything I need. Darling, you really know me. Anticipation's growing. Come to me now and you will see.